All right, let's talk about some best WWE Champion of all time tournament talk. We have, before we get into the next part of the results, we need to go for part three of round two and talk about what ended up happening with those matches. First off, Steve Austin beat Jeff Hardy, no surprises there.
My God.
31 to 5.
Oof.
We've talked about this before. Austin is going to be almost impossible to beat in this tournament, so
hmm
you put him up against anybody for the most part, and he's kind of
They're gonna get slaughtered.
right.
You know?
Then
Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Stone Cold!
there was a little surprise here. Ric Flair lost to Brock Lesnar, 19 to 14. I was kind of thinking that Flair was going to win that.
Well, I think it was just comparison of reigns there, basically. I think Lesnar's first WWE title reign was better than any reign Flair had, and that's not a knock on Flair. But I think that's kind of what drove people to vote for Lesnar. I know that's what drove me to vote for Lesnar was his original 2002 title reign. Yeah.
Then we had the Ultimate Warrior with 6 votes lose to Shawn Michaels with 27. Thank God.
Again, thank God.
Yeah. So now some Ultimate Warrior fans are going to get all pissed off at us, and I'm sure if Dace were here, he would say "fuck the Ultimate Warrior." Uh, Not a really huge surprise on that one, and another not really shock or anything like that. Triple H beats The Miz
Of
23 to 10.
course.
You
There was no
know,
way The Miz was coming out of that one alive.
right? That's pretty simple. That Triple H multiple title reigns, Miz only the one. You weigh them all against each other. It's obviously Triple H gets the win on that one.
Plus, The Miz played
Absolutely.
second fiddle to The Rock and John Cena during his title reign. So, you have to look at meaning as well. Triple H literally carried the whole company on his back for what, nearly 2 years?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
but he
guys.
was world heavyweight champion when he did that, though.
No, no, when he
He
was
wasn't
WWE Champion, the
WWE.
Man Helmsley era. Remember that?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, Austin and Rock were still around then, though.
I know, but they were like plagued with injuries
Well, in the
at
grand
that
scheme of
point.
things, Triple H ends up even one or two title reigns ended up being more so than the Miz. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
and the new set of matches here, the end of round two. First off, we have the Undertaker against Iron Sheik. I went with Undertaker. It seems like everybody except for one person had,
Yeah,
and
I agree.
it's the Undertaker. He has been one of those people that they threw the title on. Uh, Not like as a transitional champion necessarily, but they threw it on Taker every once in a while. Like they get this like 5 year period where they're like, let's give him the title, let's give him the title, let's give him the title, and they're all like entertaining for one reason or another, and they all kind of conjoin together to just mean more to me than the Iron Sheik one. Iron Sheik does have an important part in the history of the WWE Championship. I mean, obviously, without the Iron Sheik, he doesn't end up dropping it to Hulk Hogan, and they do that whole kind of a thing. But still, Undertaker was that guy that knocked out Hulk Hogan that one time, and then it was, like, there's enough that you can weigh in my mind that Undertaker deserves it, and it looks like pretty much
Yeah,
everybody agrees.
like his big evil title reign was one of the most entertaining aspects of his career.
You
That was
got it
during his
now. You're gonna
yeah,
make a big mistake.
I'd Undertaker all the way for this one simply because of that character. But then you got to think I don't know if yeah, he probably did hold it during his ministry time. I know he certainly challenged Austin for it, and that feud was really good.
He did. He was part of the ministry,
Yeah,
the corporate ministry at the time. He held the WWE Championship. And that was when it all unfolded that the Ministry of Darkness and the corporation were all in cahoots.
It was me,
But
Austin.
yeah, that's literally where that phrase was coined. Um, and the first time that everyone just looked at it and went, ugh. But the one thing I have to say about this is he's one of those guys. Now, again, people are going to try and put a comparison in regards to him and Ryback. I wouldn't. He literally got thrusted into the title picture after having a couple of matches and looked legit. He's the first person to ever look legit going after Hulk Hogan for the WWE Championship. Literally beat Hogan for the title, and then the title was held up. This is the reason why we had the whole Royal Rumble with Flair winning the championship, if anyone remembers that.
hmm
Um, and the whole controversy surrounding that was a huge build. Taker looked strong, and every single time Taker's managed to reinvent himself, he's always managed to look strong as a character. So
Right.
that's one thing you've got to look at, and especially with every WWE Championship reign, can you remember them? Are they memorable?
Mm-hmm.
Did he hold his own when he was holding those championships? And the whole thing, I have to say, is yes. The guy, is one of these big and powerful, and he has his own sort of entertaining aspect towards him as well. And the fact is, you can't hold any grudges against him. He's literally a character upon himself. So, I'd vote Taker over anybody that's sort of faced against him in this round, unless they're part of the Big Four, of course.
And then we have Sheamus against Randy Orton. Only 2 votes for Sheamus so far, 23 for Randy Orton. I can't agree more. Sheamus had 2 very shitty title reigns as far as I'm concerned. I hated.
Yeah, because he was green as like goose shit. You know,
I absolutely hated.
Oh, your reign was
like
true.
I'm not
I'll
talking like
make
in terms of ability. I mean in terms of like mainstream exposure.
Yeah, well, you know what?
I mean, he did.
What pissed me off about the whole thing was they gave him all this exposure when it came to building him up as this like unstoppable type of juggernaut type of guy. And then how did they give him this title? They had him accidentally push Cena through the table.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like, and then afterward, for both title reigns, Sheamus won the title in some kind of like a fluke sort of situation. And both times after that, they started booking him as a complete fucking pathetic loser. And it was like, if you build somebody up as supposed to be that monster heel or anything like that, and then he wins the title and he becomes the same cowardly role that like Edge would play and all that, then it just screams to me that you don't know how to actually utilize that character, and you wanted to give the title to somebody that you liked as opposed to you thought that was the best direction for the character. I fucking hated it. Randy Orton's had some problems when it comes to the championships.
Oh god,
Like,
remember the whole Night of Champions fiasco?
yeah, that was absolutely fucking ridiculous with him winning and dropping it right to Triple H and all that.
He was getting rewarded it because Cena, was injured at the time, and then Triple H comes in, beats him for the championship, and then the next minute he's like running around the pay-per-view doing his own matches and stuff.
With Umaga.
And the pay-per-view literally was Randy Orton, Triple H doing their own thing until they meet up at the end, and it was just that pay-per-view to me felt like a huge waste of money.
That pay-per-view felt to me like it was like some guy in the back, he wrote this out and he was like, wouldn't that be funny? And somebody else just grabbed it and they fucking printed a whole lot of copies, and then he was just like, oh fuck,
funny.
Oh fuck,
no, that's going on TV.
Right. People are gonna laugh at this one. Like,
it sounds like a Vince McMahon idea. Vince probably just sitting there. Oh, can you work 3 matches in one night? You can? Brilliant. You're on for the whole night, Paul. Go on.
Make one guy look like a puss for becoming a champion and make the other guy look so strong in his efforts to try and keep the title.
You're gonna be facing Umaga.
And Randy Orton again.
You gotta say it. You gotta say it probably, Tony. Umaga.
I thought you were gonna say Umanga.
But then after that, Orton had the Age of Orton title reign. That's definitely better than any of Sheamus's too.
Right.
I know he's got his problems when it comes to being champion, but certainly he's the lesser of 2 evils in this poll. So...
the funniest thing is every reign of Orton's that went up shit's creek was because of Triple H.
Yeah. Every reign.
Yeah, his like that World Heavyweight Championship reign. What happens? Triple H defeats him for the title, like a pay-per-view after he freaking wins it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then next, then with his WWE Championship reign, the Night of Champions fiasco. Then he ends up freaking getting injured because of his match with Triple H, and it dislocates his like freaking shoulder. That ends up losing the championship like again. Then he comes back, has the whole Age of Orton reign, and then after the Age of Orton reign, gets drafted to SmackDown, and
yeah, it's a shame, but. Yeah. When you compare the two of them, Sheamus, he doesn't get my vote at all.
Neither.
No, of course, because as you said, Sheamus has been booked like a pussy, and that wasn't what they were going for. They shouldn't have been going for that, because if they legitimately thought that would be funny, to have the guy win the championship out of 2 screwjob finishes when he's supposed to be a monster, that nearly decapitated Jamie Noble and ended his career, quote unquote, you've got to look at it and think, all right, there's a problem here. There's a big problem. The big problem is this guy isn't being booked properly.
Right. We're gonna go old school a little bit. Bob Backlund against The Rock. The Rock's winning right now, 21-5, and he's got my
Definitely.
vote. So, Bob
Got
Backlund.
my vote too.
Bob Backlund is a very important person when it comes to the championship. But again, and I've mentioned this in some of the other ones before, he's also kind of, it can be viewed as more important for pre-WWE Championship because it's not exactly the same title. We're all grouping it together. We're not going back to WWF and
Yeah,
separating that, but at the same time, it is separate. You know, it's different eras have different things that
think-
make it caveats. And when it comes to Backlund and all that, he had such a long title reign and everything, but you know that nowadays that would not be the case. So you can't compare it. Kind of similar, like when people say, like what is it? Avatar, I think is right now is the number one highest grossing film of all
Yes.
time, and it's like
Yeah.
in actuality, if you do the adjustment of the inflation prices and all that, I think it's Gone with the Wind actually is the number one. It's either Gone with the
But
Wind or
again,
it's Star Wars, I think.
You're looking at different flavors, though, aren't you? If you, even though you're looking at those films in comparison, it's different flavors. Gone with the Wind, you're looking at sort of romantic, sort of a romantic film of its time. Then you're looking at Avatar, which was literally, you could say it's romance, but I don't know what the fuck that film
It's
was.
Pocahontas.
It was kind of a sci-fi Pocahontas man betraying his race so he can get a bit of nookie, and all that crap. So that's fine. They do their thing and all that. A lot of people saying it's a masterpiece. I think it's a piece of shit. Anyway,
No masterpiece. I mean, I enjoyed the film and all that, but it's a masterpiece. But if you look at the two of these people, I mean, you could say Bob Backlund's the Gone with the Wind and The Rock is the Avatar out of the two. But The Rock is more substantial, I think, than Avatar is in comparison to that. And
basically, Bob
the only-
Backlund did what Hogan did, but Hogan did it better.
right,
That's it. Both of them were packaged the same way. Mr. America, apple pie, I do this for
Are
my
we forgetting
country.
Mr. Backlund?
Yeah, but that
though?
was
Like that-
afterwards.
I know.
Oh.
I'm just saying, like, we're talking title reigns. He's still champion during that. I'm not comparing him to The Rock or anything, but I thought that was
But
the
let
most entertaining he'd ever been in his entire career.
Yeah, but then they
I
killed
love
it.
that character.
They killed
Yeah,
that push by giving a championship to Kevin Nash when they shouldn't
it's
have.
a
I understood the
fucking
reasoning.
diesel.
Yeah, I understood the reasoning behind it, but I felt that Backlund was more relevant then as Mr. Backlund than he was, with his initial.
I'm agreeing
know,
with you 100%. It was his most entertaining title reign for sure. But
Because
even
when he beat Bret Hart, and with that whole Owen Hart crying, and then they threw the towel in.
Talon, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I screwed you, Bret. Ah! And then you had Bob Backlund win. I just sat there. I was like, shit, this guy, he was huge. Way before Hogan's reign. He was way before Hogan's reign. And he comes back, reinvented himself, became this fucking nut job. I want to see more of this guy. And then next minute he drops it to Kevin Nash within 15 seconds. And you're just like, okay. And then you don't hear anything from him after that. Which I think is, it's a shame.
Yeah, stop and start pushes didn't just start now,
Yeah.
Character suffered back then too, and unfortunately because of that we didn't get to see much of that
Well,
character.
if he was around this time, if he was around the PG era, I think Bob Backlund would have held the championship for a lot longer in comparison.
Yeah.
Just not anywhere
There were
near in comparison to what his first reign was.
votes over.
Yeah,
There's no really explaining why. I mean, he's one of the biggest stars in like the history of the company. All of his title reigns meant a lot, and he was a compelling character throughout each of them. So yeah, it's a given.
It's extremely compelling, and that's the fact. When it comes down to it, you look at his character, you look at the way he was pushed, and a lot of it was done because of Backlund. He's probably one of the first people to ever reinvent himself, sans the Undertaker, because he literally went in from being this mum and apple pie guy, came back being this mum and apple pie guy, and saw he was in a different era of things. And then after one loss, turned into a complete and utter psychopath and started using the crossface chicken wing. I remember watching him thinking, whoa, this guy has got a screw loose.
And those suspenders for the win.
Yeah.
The next one we had is kind of the lesser of two evils sort of situation, I guess you could call it. It's the Big Show against Psycho Sid. Now, the reason I call it that is neither of them have any shot at winning this tournament. Without a doubt. I mean, it's a guarantee. It's kind of like, if you were to do the tag team tournament that they did at over this past few months with WWE, and you had the Usos in that first match, and we're like, well, the Usos aren't going to fucking win this match.
Yeah, because the Usos have never won the tag team championships, firstly, and secondly, they've had the same thing that Big Show's been having, which are slow starting and stalled pushes.
Right.
The Sid, we can say the same with Sid. When Sid was first debuted in the WWE as Sid Justice, he literally had one of an amazing push against Hogan. He had Hogan's supposed retirement match was against Sid at WrestleMania. I believe it was WrestleMania 8, was it?
Yeah, it was WrestleMania 8.
Yeah.
That was the same one as Flair and Savage, right? I believe they're both on the same card. Yeah.
It was supposed to be Flair versus Hogan for the WWE Championship,
yes.
but it all got turned around.
Right.
And again, a lot of it they were saying was to do with Hogan not wanting to do the match. Yeah.
Hogan being Hogan. Hogan knows best. Come on.
Literally, it was supposed to be his retirement match with WWE, even though he was still under WWE contract. Believe it or not.
Yeah, but I mean, when it comes to Sid, though, his 2 title reigns, for anybody who doesn't know, Sid was the one to dethrone Shawn Michaels after he won the championship at WrestleMania 12. He carried it from WrestleMania until Survivor Series, but the little thing that screws that up, he doesn't get a big, round of applause for being the one to take out somebody who had a decent title reign, because he had to do it by cheating with, he was like screwing around with Jose Lothario outside.
Yeah.
And then he gets the camera, he hits Shawn Michaels, hits the jackknife, and wins.
Straight in his swallow's back.
Right afterward, they go into the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, and what happens? Shawn Michaels ends up having a distraction, hits him back with the camera, Sweet Chin Music, retains the title,
over.
Gets rid of it because he's lost his smile right afterward. Yeah, and then they do the whole thing with Bret Hart wins the title in your house against Vader, Austin, and The Undertaker, because they were the last people in the Royal Rumble. And the next night, Sid wins it. And that switched
why did Sid win it? Remember what Austin did to Bret Hart? Where he injured Bret Hart?
Well, it was all to switch up the main event from either... They were kind of going back and forth between, do you want to have Austin and Bret Hart as the main event of WrestleMania, or do you want to have Sid and The Undertaker and all that kind of stuff? So what they did was they switched that up, gave it to Sid to make it so... it would end up becoming the grudge match of Bret Hart and Steve Austin. It worked out in the end because the grudge match ended up being awesome and totally worth it. But Psycho Sid drops the title to The Undertaker. So both title reigns were just transitional. They really didn't serve much of a purpose for Sid himself. He was just they needed somebody to take the title off of Michaels. They needed somebody to lose the title to The Undertaker. In the comparison of that, Big Show, he didn't really have, these monumental title reigns, but he did have more of a purpose to his title reigns than those two.
You're a bastard, Big Show! You're a bastard because your mama said so! do you remember that?
You know what? I swear to God, every time somebody says bastard when it comes to WWE, the first thing that pops in my mind is Lashley. I could just picture him doing that line. You're a bastard.
No, mine, every time someone says that, it has to be Boss Man at that gravesite. You're a bastard, Big Show! You're a bastard because your mama said so! And literally, his title reigns were terrible. The first title reign he had, the biggest defense we had was Boss Man and Albert. Then he lost the title to Triple H after every single member of DX interfered. Then we flash forward. He goes to SmackDown, wins the championship after defeating Brock Lesnar in a brilliant match. But again, Paul Heyman turns on Lesnar, sides with Big Show. Then Big Show loses the belt to Angle. And lo and behold, Angle is a new client to Paul Heyman. And Big Show ends up in a bit of a tag team. And that's it. It's not... You can't sit there and say, oh, that was amazing. It kind of wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, both of these people are holding the spot for The Rock. He's winning the next round.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't see. I think Big Show is the lesser of two evils at this point.
Right, I agree, and it seems like most people are because right now it's 17-10 in favor of Big Show. But it's kind of a shame that couldn't have been when I was making this the layout for this. I did some matches on purpose, like the Big Show and Andre the Giant thing, but at the same time, a lot of them had to just be randomized. And in the grand scheme of things, the randomization turned into Big Show and Sid popping up like this. It could have been Andre the Giant and Sid if everybody would have voted for Andre the Giant instead. But it's a shame that couldn't have gone to maybe the Iron Sheik for that one instead, and we could have had Undertaker against Sid and Big Show against Iron Sheik. But that's how it happens. But it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because The Rock's going to win the next round. So really, I don't think it's that much of a discussion.
Nah, not at all.
Well, that should be it then for the best WWE Championship tournament talk that we have had for this week. Remember, guys, take your polls and shove them. I'm just kidding. Go ahead and vote while you can. And we're going to start, obviously, round 3 in the next week, where the first match, if I remember correctly, is John Cena against JBL. Let me double check that real quick. That should be...
Boom!
Yeah, we're going to start, and there's only going to be 2 parts for round 3 next week instead of breaking it up into 4 parts because we have half as many. It's going to be John Cena against JBL, CM Punk against Randy Savage, Edge against Hulk Hogan, and Bret Hart against Kurt Angle. Then we're going to come across the results from the other side of it and do the Austin onward in the week after that. For anybody who doesn't know, the schedule for the tournament is something that I figured out already. The winner of the tournament is obviously after we do the wild card, and that's going to be grouped in with round 5. But round 5 and the wild card are the December 8th ones. December 15th are going to be the finals, and December 22nd is when we announce the winner. And for anybody who doesn't know about this either, December 29th, the week after that, unless something crazy happens with, people are getting fired from WWE and all this other kind of stuff, that's not going to be a standard episode of Smack Talk. That's going to be the best and worst of WWE in 2012 award show. We're going to try to figure out a way to put that up there on the 29th, a little belated Christmas gift for everybody and a little Happy New Year present. So that's, if you're interested when the tournament is going to end, it's officially done the Wednesday after the 15th. That should be, let's see here. That's the 19th. The 19th of December is when the tournament is over with. So vote while you can. We're going to keep this going. And the next part, we're going to talk about the TNA Turning Point pay-per-view predictions.